What is up, family? We have another Patreon request that I have somehow let slip by. I don't know how that happened, but especially with that title. The Amazing Digital Circus, people. The Amazing Digital Circus. We're still talking about this crazy, unbelievably well done animation. And this time is Jax Trans. The story of Jax and Ribbit. Just so y'all know, not once, ever in the entire show did that thought go through my mind. So I can't wait to hear the explanation of how they got to this conclusion. Actually, they didn't. It's just a question. My answer would be no, definitely not. But we'll see. Let's see what this narrator here has to say.
Now that the Amazing Digital Circus has released its final episode, we finally know the entire backstory for Jax, though a lot of what was said was very much in the implications. So I want to break down everything we learned about him in this final episode, as well as the character Ribbit. Now, when we first met Jax, he was kind of your typical jerk, and even the voice actor, Michael Kovac, didn't know very much about his backstory, and portrayed him as more of a generic bully as a result. Unlike the others who seemed to still want to escape, Jax seemed to decide that being in the circus was where he belonged. Something that makes sense with the backstory we got for him in the finale, but which was also complicated by the character Ribbit.
Yeah, he
in
had
the
a
finale,
terrible
we
real
now
life.
know that Jax abstracts sometime after Kane left the circus. But Pomni tries to help him by entering the abstraction and seeing all the different versions of Jax that exist in his mind. These different versions of Jax have their own rooms inside of his head, similar to how all of the circus members have their own room in the circus. But what's interesting is that each of these different versions of Jax isn't some sort of complete personality of his. They're all just masks that he puts on in order to hide what he fears is the real him. This includes sociopath Jax, whose eyes go real wide when he's choking Pomni.
Yeah,
Reminding
I
me a
know
lot
that.
of the Gun episode where Pomni tried to act close emotionally to Jax, and he put on this act of being a sociopath to try and keep her away. He does the same thing when Pomni enters his mind and he tries to choke her, putting on the act that even if he can't actually hurt her inside of the circus, that he's a dangerous person that she should stay away from. A person who's even more likely to try and hurt you because he knows that he can't actually kill. In the next room that Pomni goes into, we see Maid Jax, the version of Jax that's forced to wear the maid uniform, such as we saw back in episode 5. This was something all the other characters voted to make Jax wear because they thought it would embarrass him. And while it clearly did at first, he then leaned into being comfortable with it so that people wouldn't suspect that his issues with it are much deeper than they first expected. And then there's even just a room where he's basic Jax, the cartoony version of himself who just wants to do wild and wacky antics. This also just being a mask that he puts on so people don't realize what's going on underneath. It's in this third room where they imply that Jax sees himself as such a cartoony character in the circus because he's a bit reminiscent of Bugs Bunny. And you can kind of see Jax leaning into that personality throughout the entire show, treating the other characters like they're Daffy Duck or Elmer Fudd, people to set up for hilarious failures. After these 3 rooms, Pomni enters the final room, which has the 3 Jaxes sitting together, where they make it very obvious that they are just the mask that Jax puts on. One Jax, for instance, is very uncomfortable with the other Jax wearing the maid uniform, but the maid Jax reveals that the real reason they're wearing the maid uniform and really putting on this mask of being okay with it is so that people don't realize just how much this drives Jax crazy. And then interestingly in this room, there's a 4th Jax playing piano, one chained to the piano, implying that he represents the part of Jax that the masked versions of himself keep down. At the end of this scene, all of the different versions of Jax fade away, with the one who is chained up proving he represents the suppressed Jax by giving Pomni the key she needs to find the real one. But unfortunately, when she enters this door, what Pomni sees is the experience of Jax from his own eyes. This starts with the night he ran away from home, traveling in the dark, and then cuts to him camping somewhere, indicating he was living homeless for a short while. In the next shot, we suddenly see from Jax's eyes that he's now trapped in the digital circus, indicating that he stumbled upon the CNA office and put on the headset that scanned his brain. When he arrived, the only members of the circus were Kinger, Ribbit, Ragatha, and Kaufmo, making for a very small group. And the really interesting thing we learn here is Jax didn't immediately embrace these masks in the circus. At first, he was just as freaked out as everyone else, but even after settling in, he wasn't treating it like a cartoony paradise the way he does in the pilot, seeing it as the best place to pick on other people without there being any real-world consequences. And what's really sad is he doesn't actually adopt this until after seeing that there is consequences in the circus. When he first arrived, he made close friends with Ribbit, who was already close friends with Kaufmo. And unfortunately, in a lot of what we see, Ragatha seems to be the odd one out. When Kane creates a game for pairs of two, Ribbit was pairing up with Jax. And outside of those forced adventures from Kane, we mostly see Jax hanging out with Ribbit and Kaufmo, with Ragatha not being around. The problem was that Jax eventually got really close to Ribbit in particular, and when they started to spend some time alone together, Ribbit wanted to know about the regrets that Jax had in the world before, the world where they were human. Ribbit, of course, has her own regrets as she cut off contact with her Mormon family. The problem wasn't that they were Mormon, but devout Mormon, and Ribbit was not, to say the least. Ribbit doesn't say anything about her own identity labels or any clash they might have had with her parents, but that's a pretty big theme in the show. Zubul is of course non-binary, and eventually by the end of the series in something of a relationship with Gangle, with Ragatha also being hinted at having feelings for women, particularly Pomni. And of course, there's the big revelations we get about Jax and his identity in this episode as well. The thing is, even if Ribbit didn't have identity issues or labels of her own, she was someone who seemingly took an interest in those ideas, and likely had a lot of friends like Zubul and Jax growing up. Because of their clashes on issues like these, and perhaps a lot more, Ribbit apparently cut ties when she moved out of her parents' home, but of course now regrets it and wishes she could have a chance to see them again. She uses this as a way to get Jax to open up, perhaps already seeing that Jax has some identity issues that he's not talking about. And unfortunately, that is exactly what Jax reveals to her. Not unfortunate because he was honest, but unfortunately because Jax wasn't in a healthy enough place to discuss this, and it led not just to the end of their friendship, but unfortunately also the abstraction of Ribbit. The problem a lot of the audience has is it wasn't very explicit in the show what exactly Jax's issues or identity labels were. But to be honest, I think leaving that a little bit vague at the end makes the most sense for Jax's character. Some people are very good with self-labeling and self-identification, seeing it as a way to share parts of themselves with other people that other people don't seem to understand yet. But for Jax, he grew up with people not wanting to really understand him in any way, particularly his mother and his father. That can lead not just to identity issues because your parents aren't accepting of who you might be, but also a discomfort with labels even if you understand who you are. This can feel safe as people around you may feel safe with the version of you that you present, which includes aspects of yourself that you might consider to be alternative, but which other people accept as just being you when you don't put some other label on top of it. And this can even be the more comforting baseline even for people who don't have identity issues or issues with people around them accepting who they are. Every person has different things that bring them comfort. And because of that, even if Jax gets a strong understanding of who he is and all of that is separated from his parents, he still may not want to identify publicly in any specific way, instead continuing to just be himself and let people address him as they will. According to Jax, the issue started with his mother and father, who, as Jax explained, were always fighting. This led to the two becoming separated, and of course, Jax living with his mother and not very much seeing his father. It's in this time that his mother would take out a lot of her own issues on Jax. As a growing human in general, he's going to have outbursts, especially with there being tension in the family. And anytime that he would have something like an outburst, his mother would make it not about his issues needing to control himself as an adult, but about him being too much like his father, the person that she divorced and separated from. The person he recognizes as important to him, but doesn't really know because of how distant they are. But unfortunately, the opposite was also true. Anytime that Jax was doing something seen as a little too feminine, his mother would get upset with him and claim that he's not a real man.
I don't ever what? I don't ever remember. I mean, my memory does suck, but I don't ever remember hearing that in the series.
Him to also act more like his father. This wasn't even just about Jax's behavior, but to some degree, she was also missing what she liked about Jax's father, the parts of them that did make her want to marry him. And when Jax doesn't embody this, she sees him as less of a man. According to Jax, this went on for a while before eventually he told her something personal thinking it would get her off his back. While it's not explained in the show, it's strongly hinted that Jax is trans, or at least holds himself to have some sort of feminine identity. He could have told his mother something very complex and nuanced with the labels we have today, or he could have said something very simple, like saying he wished he was born a girl or that he felt like he was just born in the wrong body, gender-wise. From here, however, his mother seems to go through the 5 stages of grief, starting off by getting really emotional and even insulting Jax, before seemingly making some peace with it and trying to give Jax a hug. And it's because of this whiplash of emotions that Jax ends up pushing his mother away. The episode gives us this very haunting image of Jax looking down at a body covered in static, the image of his mother, who he wasn't sure was still alive, causing him to run away, live homeless for a while, and eventually find the digital circus. What was really shocking to me was looking back at episode 1 and seeing that scene where Jax pushes Gangle over by the stairs. He was already a wacky and mean character, but this moment felt really intense, really brutal, really personal. And he was literally doing the same act that he thought was pushing his own mother, which led to her death. And to some degree, maybe this makes Jax feel comforted because he can push people however he wants here, and they won't die. But the problem is, they can still abstract, and he's doing this even after Ribbit and now even Kaufmo have abstracted. This happened to Ribbit after Jax pushed her away for too long. A moment that reached its breaking point on some sort of snow adventure, where Jax finally makes it clear to Ribbit that they aren't going to be friends again. This is clearly a moment that, looking back, makes Jax feel a lot of pain, as even just seeing the image of this adventure in the snow globe in Kane's office makes Jax really sad. But it doesn't stop him from changing his behavior, or if anything, the way he's changed it made him much worse, becoming someone who started to hurt others after Ribbit abstracted instead of before, as if he'd truly rather have everyone around him abstract than learn the truth about him. For me, I think the best part to end this video on is this flashing image of Jax with all these different outfits over him from the finale, made even more haunting by a Jax-like image of his father standing in a doorway that's slowly being closed. The image says so much about the issues men have about seeing themselves in their father or trying to be like their father and going back and forth between the two, while also often wanting to be nothing like their father, to get away from the idea of their father, whether because they were a bad person or they simply can't live up to it. That's all I've got for you guys.
Okay.
Today, but subscribe because tomorrow's video will end on a happier note with me getting into the story of Jax and all of the other characters with their happy endings outside of the circus. If you want more amazing digital circus videos, you can check out the video I put out yesterday about the real life mythology and spirituality of the circus. But before we wrap things up, if you need a new indie cartoon to watch now that the amazing digital circus is over, I genuinely recommend watching the sponsor of today's video, Run Monster
Hang on 1 second. Interesting. All right,
Run right here on YouTube. Run Monster Run is a new series from the same people that brought you the famous show Solar Balls that a lot of you are probably already aware of. They've decided to break into 3D with their show Run Monster Run, which is about...
All right. Care about that. All right, well, that was an interesting point of view. I mean, in some ways, I don't know. I didn't see it. I just didn't see it. Which tells me that he was still in the closet. If he was. And if you're still in the closet, it means you're not. My opinion. Right? If you don't come out with it and tell everybody what you are, well, then you're not that. Until you say, yes, that's what I am. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I swear, not even once. Not even for a second. Even when he was in the maid, who cares? He was in a maid outfit. I mean, that was to like bust his balls mostly. And then, after a while, when you okay, look, if you're with all your friends and you're doing some stupid, drink or dare, truth or dare type game of nonsense, something like that. Whatever. I don't know what they're up to now these days, right? Yeah, let's say you're with six of your buddies, 6 men all hanging out, and whatever. The dare is, listen, if you are wrong about what we're about to bet, well, then you got to put on this maid outfit. And you're like, all right, fine. I'll bet you. All right, whatever. Oh, shit, I was wrong. Damn, you all right? Seriously, you gonna make me wear this thing? Hell, you know, all those fellas are in the background. Hell yeah, you gonna wear that? Go put that fucking maid outfit on. Ha 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 ha. You come out with your maid outfit. You're like, you bastards, you son of a bitches. You think this is funny, huh? Ha ha ha. All right, well, whatever. I lost the bet, so I'm doing it. You know, I'm wearing my thing. All right, so at first you're gonna be like, oh, this is fucking awkward. Everybody's staring at me. 10 minutes into it, you're just gonna be like, I don't give a shit anymore. All right, I lost the bet. I'm in my maid outfit. Who cares? It doesn't mean because now I'm comfortable in it that, oh, I must really be a woman inside. It just means what I'm with my friends. I'm with people I already know. Who in the beginning, it's embarrassing, as it probably should be. And then after a while, you don't care anymore. You relax, you let your guard down. Who cares? Yeah, all right, that's right. I'm in a maid outfit. Who cares? Ha ha. And that's all I felt like. It was that kind of thought process that he had when he had the maid outfit on. It was almost like, are you kidding me right now? You guys think this is funny? You know what I mean? And then after a while, it's like, well, what am I going to do, bitch, for 3 hours that this is not funny? I don't like this maid outfit on? No, after like 20 minutes, you're like, huh, oh, well, I guess I'm wearing this stupid maid outfit for a while. Till I can wear something else. So I could go back to wearing what I like wearing. I don't know. I get, and other than that, the stories that he told about with Ribbit and his mother, I never remember any of those parts where he says, like, I feel like I'm something I'm not in my body or something. Like, what? I don't recall. I mean, I guess I'm losing my mind. I missed a lot of those important parts, but I mean, if he is, who cares? I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so he is. He's a man trapped in a woman's body. No, how's that word? He's a woman trapped in a man's body. Being a rabbit's body. All right, I don't know. Well, he did transition into Looney Tunes Bug Bunny for at least 6 seconds. Remember that? Well, other than that, I don't know. Anyway, I never saw it. I never thought of it. If that's the case, again, who cares? He was an amazing character in this animation. He was like one of the. I said it, as a matter of fact. If you go back and watch like episode 2 or 3, I was already saying, "Oh, Jax is my favorite. He's my favorite character so far." And I don't think I ever. Well, I actually did like Kane. I did. I like Kane. And I like King. The rest of the characters were all right, but King, I like King. He was like daddy therapist. Kane was just a lunatic, so I liked him automatically. And I like Jax. I did. I like Jax. Tommy was a little annoying to me, but Zuby was like, I don't know, kind of boring to me. And I don't know. It doesn't matter. The show's over, people. We're not getting another one. They'll probably start up a whole different kind of animation. But bottom line was, it was fun. It was fun watching 1 to 9 episodes and watch every character grow and change and understand the story a little more. In the beginning, I was confused as hell. I'm not gonna lie. But then it just became addictive. It became addictive. It's just I don't know. It's a really good show. So there you have it. I guess Jax was a trans, even though he was in the digital world. Wasn't really, because in the real world, the end clearly looked like some guy. Unless it was saying at that point, even at the end when they showed the real pictures, he didn't know yet, or he wasn't ready yet. We'll just leave it at that. All right. So anyway, there you go. Sorry about the, I don't know what happened. I really don't. As soon as you sent me the email, I went back and looked and said, what's he talking about? I don't remember it. And then, yep, it was there. It was there in the sheets. I missed it. All right. Well, there you have it. Interesting plot twist, if you will. And there you have it. Jax, take care. Peace out. Have a good night.
FM.